Thank 上界觉道草间交诺来相交八道大内加塞大给现色级别上内见着了偏西人上见着白说三界同级电话到地位就到电波的就接到我到我接就到这我的就接到我的没别的我同胞同们这我就接你的恰到你到这当年进步了那把就接上草我东秋节小白接色也让个也说我也给我将些大给接色吧堂姐大给上家些我也撒也必须小也没多长是让灵界你的肩膀的上界很多没的破坏眼着个能大很雪白可呀三界能界上百同落叶写着记得了其中多么提拔也去见可罗可罗多所南无来给的路当的今给唐罗kun제的给接怎么탐지 깨도다기 취등도 다자 기 덤바 냠메 투페왕베 샵제도 마음에 봐라 고르 랍드드데 고스음 그바젬베 찬사신 접순 치워 다도 심지에 탐지지 주친젤라브런제도 소르 받든 자월라마 림보체 다기 쪼르베메 대줄라 가든 침부건의 지종대 고송 투지 오주자도 솔 원나 남카단 임베 심지에 덤전 남전 나나메 바 양다바 조비 산지지 공파로 못잖아 거버자 대이 제도 달람 담비 최삼원 체발라 주님베 군혼다 군전 넘버다베 센터 텔라 간셈버체비 춘네 샤제 친부 인도식 돌두점 체백값수 바빠데 As per request of all of you, I am elaborating on Mahamudra, the essence of Mahamudra. And Mahamudra is such a vast subject, so I have to summarize everything and present it in the most comprehensive possible manner. Okay. Now, the source of Mahamudra, you have to use two Tibetan terminology, tablam and tollam. So, tablam means through many different methods, such as visualization and exercise
and so many sacred practice like that. So through that path, then the practitioner attain realization, and of course, it will lead to enlightenment at the end. That is tablam. Tollam means liberation. So without so many of the technical methods such as visualization, etc., etc., there is some, but minimum. Then directly practicing and practicing on the nature of mind. So first of all, one have to be able to have the cognizance of the nature of mind. And once that happens, then progress will be rapid, and efficiency and dynamism will follow. So the tablam and tollam. And tablam in Mahamudra lineage of Marpakaju, it will be tablam naro chudu. And for example, with Shangpakaju, then it will be tablam nigu chudu. And tollam chakja chembo is always the same. And chakja chembo, the Mahamudra, and Dzogpa chembo, the Mahaati, and Madhyamaka, the Uma chembo. All these great methods are inseparable, actually. They are complementary to each other. So, Saja Chembo, Dzogpa Chembo, Uma Chembo, all three are in unity and union. That is Sungjuk Chenpo, the lineage of the Sungjuk. So these are just very basic terminology definitions. Now, in Mahamudra itself, most important part of the Mahamudra practice is the practitioner have to be conducive to the Mahamudra practice. Now, every sentient being is conducive in principle and in essence, but individually speaking, some are more conducive and some are less conducive. For example, the persons whose mind is not well grounded, that is a very big obstacle for the beginners. And also person who don't have the clear renunciation of the worldly interests, that is a major shortcoming and setback for Mahamudra practitioner. Again, relatively speaking, ultimate of the worldly and spiritual is same, of course, but relatively very big difference. In the worldly interest, we all wandering in suffering of samsara, and spiritually we proceed towards ultimate goal, the liberation of our potential. So there is intrinsic differences. But anyway, essence is same. Now, in the samsaric interest, we have been pursuing for countless lifetimes. In this life also we have pursued for so many years. So we are still faced with so many sufferings, so many pressures, so many obstacles. So therefore, we wish to overcome these. We see, we create suffering for ourselves. We create suffering for others. We create, many others create suffering. We see many others create suffering to each other. So therefore, we are pursuing the path of liberation. And then the preliminary practice is essential, as I have mentioned. You have to know two things first. The first thing is you have to know you are ultimately okay and perfect. Naturally okay, perfect. Every sentient being is okay and perfect. Everything is perfect. And ultimately, so that you have to know. Once you truly understand what does this mean, when I just say here for a few minutes and our full time is 45 minutes to a half hour, then I don't know how much you are able to grasp or understand, but I hope something you understand. Many of you already know, of course. Then once that is there, then we have to know, relatively, we are not doing well. We might be doing well financially, but we still are greedy. We still have so much to worry about. We have a colloquial saying, if you own an elephant, your responsibility is an elephant, and the elephant is not as same as a statue of an elephant or picture of an elephant, but it is a living elephant with its own emotions, its own needs, and its own ups and downs. So that is a big responsibility. And then if you are not decisive and not decided and not settled, then you might want a 10 elephant, and then you want 100 elephant, and you want to break some kind of record of owning the maximum elephant. And that fame is one thing, but maintaining the elephant, hundreds of them, is a very, very, very difficult. Maybe you love it, but still, I definitely think you will have so much stress. So in samsara, being powerful, being rich, everything is nice and wonderful, but it has so much responsibility, that have so much possibilities of obstacles attached to it. So all of these things one have to understand. So ultimately, everything is perfect, but relatively, nothing is perfect. Everything has to be dealt with mindfulness and awareness. One have to develop compassion, one have to develop wisdom, one have to develop skillful means, and so many ways through which you have to progress. So this too is very important. When we don't have these two in balance, then we are very unreasonable, and any bad thing happen, we are shattered. Any good thing happen, we hit the roof. And we have a saying, higher you fly. If you fall, harder you fall. Therefore, if you walk on the ground, if you fall, you you fell few feet, or body's length. So that way, it is very important to know these basics. And if you really are a good practitioner, they are nothing more than a good sense of common sense. Sometimes a little bit larger than day-to-day common sense, sometimes a little bit far-sighted than the day-to-day common sense. Some common sense even goes back to the past and making the link between the past and present. That is also a very important common sense. So then beautifully mentioned in the Western colloquial, you say, you wear other person's boot. So that means you put yourself in other person's place, and therefore you see how other person feel, what other person have to go through, how difficult it is to be what they are. And if you are in charge or the owner of a wood mill, there you create all kind of wooden beams and planks and so on and so forth. And you can shout and jump on all of those people. But in reality, they have to put the woods on a chain, which are big trees, tree trunks, and brought in the truck, and have to put on harness, and then have to put it in the right angle, and then these big machines with the big saws, you have to put it through them, and you have to get it exactly correct. Otherwise, you can ruin the whole block of wood. And so they are working very hard, physically, mentally. They have to have experience. They have to have muscle power. They have to have intelligence. They have to know how to function those very, very powerful machine. If a wrong move, your finger is gone. If a bad move, a limb will be gone. So very serious. So this way, the owner of the wood mill should put his or her foot in the shoe of the operator and worker, and then you will not jump on them so often as usual, and the understanding will develop. So the understanding, the communication is very important. So now here about the samsara, about the Buddhahood, about the precious human life, death impermanent, suffering of samsara, karma cause and result. All of these things has to be understood thoroughly. On top of that, then basic meditation to calm your mind, because your mind is so bright, so powerful, so precious, full of potential. But if you don't calm down, it cannot function. For example, a horse, a stallion, can race across the field, carry a huge load, and a high spirit, and very powerful and very beautiful, and enjoys it. But if you lock your stallion up in a small cage, hardly can move, then stallion cannot move and cannot exercise, cannot perform. So when we lock our Buddha nature, lock our potential in some kind of very meager and limited and pathetic purpose, it is like asking a, let's say, a stallion to just scratch your back with his hoof. You know, very awkward and not efficient. But instead of that, take the stallion out, put a saddle on it, get on it, and then race across the field. Let the stallion take you wherever it likes you to take you. And they will take you to good places, high places, beautiful places, fresh air, great view, great stream, great lake, like that. So it is very important to let your potential to be free so it can manifest all of its greatness. So that way, what makes us not free is our greed, our hatred, our jealousy, our pride, etc., etc. Now, I want to talk about them later if there's time, but first I wanted to talk about the two very important practices. First is calm abiding state, calm abiding practice, shine in Tibetan language. So shine, your mind, which is right now inseparable from your body and your speech. And your body is totally dependent on your surrounding. When raining outside, you will run into the house. If too much heat, too much temperature, then you will turn on the fan or air condition. And if you're thirsty, you drink water. If you're hungry, you eat food. So you're totally dependent. You're not independent. Your mind never gets hungry, but your body gets hungry. Your mind never gets too cold or too hot, but your body gets too hot or too cold. So therefore, in order to take care of that, then you calm down. You calm down your mind and you minimize things around you, things that make too much noise and too complicated, unnecessary, then get rid of them for the time being. And you find a corner in your house, preferably a room, very quiet, with minimum things inside, that you call it a meditation room. It sounds ironic, but we have to, because we are beginner. And when we are more evolved, then every place is meditation place. In the middle of the street, and the middle of the crowd, middle of the factory, it is a meditation place. But right now, no. We need a quiet place to begin with. Then when you do the shine method, such as breathing, etc., etc., there's so many methods in Mahamudra. So gradually, then you reach to this calm abiding state, which is so pleasant so that it is, let's say, ineffable, cannot describe it, ineffable. And also, let's say, unconceivable, unimaginable, because as a dualistic means, you cannot imagine it. and you cannot describe it. You cannot explain it because you experience it. Your experience you try to say with so many words, so many examples, and it will be pretty close, but it will never be precise, because the only precise is to experience it. So you experience the calm, abiding state of mind, which is nothing comparable to anything. I give few examples just for the sake of it. Deep like an ocean, vast like a space, bright like a sun. At the same time, it is quiet like the middle of the space. At the same time, it has its own sound, so it is embodiment of sound and embodiment of everything. So remaining in that is the first step. Then after that, then the Laktong or Vipassana, there then in that state of calm abiding mind, then anything that it perceives around it, because in essence everything is free from cause and conditions, but relatively everything is a result of cause and conditions, and you will only realize that with profound experience or realization of Shine. Then you can recognize this. And three words can describe it. Sal, Rik, Zinme. Salwa means clear. Rigpa means aware. And Zinme means non-grasping. And it is all pervading. Nature of itself is primordial wisdom. So people like us who are doing a short session of meditation, then when we reach to that state, we maintain it. But then once we progress further and we become a yogi of Mahamudra, true yogi, then we become that calm abiding state. We become that clarity, awareness, and non-grasping, primordial wisdom. So that is basic of Mahamudra practice after the preliminary practice. And there's so much to it, so much to it. And finally, that pure mind, that uncorrupted, uncorruptible essence is recognized through the blessing of the Buddha. The blessing of the Buddha is continued through the lineage. And then through the lineage, it is transmitted to you gradually when you are ready. Ultimately, everybody is ready, but relatively, readiness will take time. For example, you have a nectar, most precious nectar, but you need a container for it. And that container, you make a beautiful container out of clay. Beautiful. You paint it, you make it smooth, you make it beautiful. But you did not fire it. So the moment you put the nectar in it, nectar will be wasted because it will fall apart. So one of the condition is that clay pot, although how beautiful it is or how not beautiful it is, it has to be at least fired. So through the fire, it becomes so durable that you put the nectar in it, it will host it. And then from there, you can share the nectar with everyone. And the nectar, by definition, in the highest sense, it is inexhaustible. So a small pot of nectar can bless an entire ocean, and all the beings in the ocean will be blessed by it. Now I want to say something about the nectar. This is a sidetrack. The nectar in Tibetan is dutsi. In Sanskrit is amrit. Dutsi means everything that is negative. Tsi means the essence. So essence that can transform the most negative into most positive. That is dutsi. Dutsi, by definition, is alchemy or the nectar which transforms most negative into most positive, most defiled into most enlightened. That is the definition of dutsi. Okay, now back to the Mahamudra practice. I like to share with you some of the basics of Mahamudra progress. Once your Shine and Laktong is progress, then in the Laktong, then when your mind is able to rest in this natural state, which I have described earlier, then it will arise into other thought or whatever. And so when that happens, that come abiding state, which is the base, should not be disturbed or moved or affected. So even when you are wandering, your awareness is still there. And then your awareness, your rigpa, the intelligence, the awareness, the brilliantness of the wisdom will prevail in every aspect of thoughts and emotions, everything. Not from the day one, of course, but practitioners have to practice. So first, like nothing is existing as a solid entity. Then second, although we perceive impermanent things as a permanent, but still impermanent will never become permanent. So that permanent perception itself will dissolve by itself. Example, if you make a knot on a living snake, nobody have to undo the knot. Snake itself will undo the knot. The same way, this everything ultimately not defiled. Even our defilement perceives it wrongly and act wrongly. But in essence, it will undo itself by itself. But what the we, the wrongdoers, what we are left with is our bad karma of doing the wrong thing. And all the consequences of that in short term as well as in long term. Then Rigpa. The Rigpa is at all time, Rigpa and the emptiness is in union. So that clarity, that brilliantness is non-dualistic. Therefore, it will remain at all time. It will be efficient at all time, just like the center of the space. So what do I mean by that? Okay. If we wanted to find the center of the space, we don't have to go anywhere. If you are here on this earth in your room, that is the center of the space right now. If you travel eastwards with speed of light, let's say, for 10 billion years, and then you decide to stay there, that is the center of the space. Because space have no end. Therefore, every place is the end of the space, center of the space at the same time. So, Rigpa is always perfect. And so that is a very important part of the recognition of nature of mind. Those of you who have done the practice, you will know, and those who are not familiar, I hope this will be a good information for you. Then now I want to go with the few details first. This will be good for everyone. Everyone can relate to it, no matter whether you are a seasoned practitioner or you are brand new. So, impermanent. Everything's impermanent, you know that, but you somehow never thought about it or never took it seriously. But it's very important, because when you are truly understanding impermanent, then you will not get disappointed about small things that happens in your life, because you know everything is impermanent. And all the problems in this world, individually, community, as well as in a big sense, all the problems happen because we are holding on to something as if this is the truth, this is the reality, and we are not going to let go of it, and then it doesn't work, because everything is moving, just like a river. You go to a bridge and look down at the river, and you call that such and such river. But you went 2 years ago and went there and called that such and such river. But that particular river that you saw down there, it moved miles away. As you are standing there for 5 minutes, it's not there. But it is an illusion. So the same way, we are holding on to everything in life. And when we are younger, we have one perception. When we are older, then we have midlife crisis. Then when we are really old, then we are afraid of dying. But all of that is just a perception, because with due respect, I have seen many young people die in the life of one old person's life. I have seen it. I reach my age now. But meanwhile, so many people who I know, who are 10 years younger than me, 20 years younger than me, even 60 years younger than me, died. So many. So that way, impermanent is just a relative truth. And so that way, when you know the impermanent, then you are not afraid of it, and you are not stressful about it. You don't take it personally. Good things happen good, bad things happen is also okay. You can handle it. So that is very important, impermanent. Then suffering of samsara. Okay. In this circle of samsara, it is full of suffering. My family is a farmer, half nomad. So example with the farmer, when they prepare the ground for growing vegetable, they have to open up the ground. So all the worms, all the insects inside the ground are pulled out. And so many birds come and eat them. They're cut in 2 pieces and they're suffering. And so many things happening. But we are just planting vegetable. And then after that, when we put the seed, then put the water every day, then so many thousands and thousands of ants and all kinds of insects are drowned. The entire colonies are drowned. And then to avoid that, then get medicine. Actually, this is humans' arrogance. They call it medicine, but it's actually poison. So throw these poisons into the earth, so all these little creatures die by the colonies. And we call that medicine. So anyway, that. And without medicine, then every day, tens of thousands and thousands of creatures drown and die. Even if you have a small patch of 50 feet by 50 feet, so if you have few acreage, 10 acres and like that, so many will suffer, so many will die. That is suffering of samsara. And then when you harvest, then so much will be destroyed, because when you are cutting, the creatures are living inside the straw and inside the vegetable, then you are cutting them into pieces, then you wash them, then you are washing them, and you are killing them. And then when you boil, so every creature that lives inside those living vegetables are being boiled alive. And then we eat the vegetable. So that is the suffering of samsara. In samsara, everything involves suffering. So I give you one example. As a farmer family, I did not grow anything like that by myself, but I see that everywhere. Then next is this insecurity feeling. All of us feel insecure. Some feel more, some feel less. But if you look at the crossroad of any major city, and you see tens of thousands of people running right and left, waiting for the red light, and then when the green light comes, then they all rush. So it is just like ants. So human beings are like ants. innumerable, so many. But why are they rushing? If you live near an airport, hundreds of aeroplanes fly in, hundreds of aeroplanes fly out. Almost every minute one aeroplane flies if it is a major airport. So then some have a few runways, and each one of them carrying 50, 60, 100, some of them carrying up to 300-400 people, running all the time, all direction. For what? For what? They all have their own reasons. They all have something to take care. And if they don't take care of them, then they feel they are losing something. So because of that insecurity, they wanted to do all of this. Even those who go for holiday, they also feel that they have to go for holiday. Otherwise, they are losing their mind. They are losing their health. So they want to go and walk and swim and eat and interact and have fun and all of that. All of that is for taking care of their need. And if they don't do it, their need will not be fulfilled. So that is insecurity in a certain way, not negatively all the time, but sometimes negative, of course. So in this world, so many wars are happening, and that is because of insecurity. And feel insecure, then make war. And so one have to be put against somebody else. That is because of one's own self-importance. So I am more important than them. Therefore, I have to do these things to them so that I will be secure. Of course, I am not against security. Security is very, very good. But far as a Mahamudra practitioner is concerned, this is also one of the reasons why we human beings suffer. In the name of this, then millions of people were killed in the past. Let's say 5,000 years of human history, which we roughly know throughout the world, east, west, north, south, center, everywhere. So these are all coming from this. And then next, the fourth one is fear. So we are afraid. So because of fear, we think we have to boost up ourselves. We have to look like a somebody. We have to act like a something. Otherwise, we fear that no one will notice us, no one will respect us. And that is luxury fear. But there's another fear, not enough food to eat tomorrow, no place to stay, no house, no food, no friend, no companion, no protection, that kind of fear. Millions and millions of human beings on earth right now are in this fear. So as a result of the fear, then we feel that we are neglected. So this one have to overcome. So the impermanent suffering of samsara, the insecurity and the fear, so this all has to be transformed into what is correct. Then now another 5 things, which I will go briefly. I have a little bit elaborate one here from the Zapatu Rinpoche's teaching, which is very precious to me, but because of the today's timing, not possible. So first, the ignorance. Ignorance is we are not able to know anything. except ourself. I mean, including ourself. We call ourselves I. That is the beginning of the ignorance. We are more than I. We are primordial, and we don't know that, so therefore it becomes I. And it's a continuation that flows into everything else. And if we really look at anything, do we know everything about anything? I hope I don't sound negative, because I don't want, but the truthful, I am a rice eater. Okay. I eat rice every day, bowl of rice, plate of rice. But do I know everything about 1 grain of rice? I don't know. As a Mahamudra practitioner, I know that to know everything about 1 grain of rice, I have to know everything about the whole universe. So therefore, ignorance. Then attachment. So this perception of I, which is ignorance, but as a result of that, I have attachment for anything to do with me. My taste, my feeling, my smell, the sound that I hear, everything, I have attachment for the good ones. The sound that I like, the smell that I like, the touch that I like. But then, other side of that is automatically, without any effort, sound that I don't like, so that is aversion. The opposite of the taste that I like, that I don't like. The sound opposite of what I like, then aversion. And the feeling, the touch that I like, then opposite of that, aversion. Then this goes not only with something that is to do with my body, but then other people, And so we have attachment to some people, and then naturally, as a result of that, then we develop aversion to others. Naturally. Doesn't have to be, but naturally happens. Nobody have to teach us. If you look at a pack of wild animal, they love each other. But if there is a new animal of the same species comes in, they all will attack it because they don't like it. Anger towards it. Out of fear, of course, out of insecurity, of course, but anger. Then ego pride. When I get something done easily, I get proud of it. And then the jealousy, the terrible thing. When somebody gets something wonderful before I get it, then I will be jealous. So all of these things have to be taken care through Mahamudra practice, one by one. So, now one last thing. Let us meditate for a little while. We don't have much time. If we encounter attachment, we don't have to look for it. All of us have. So we do the shine, we just calm down, and we look at that attachment itself without any other perception except to look at it with our mind, of course. Then it dissolves. It always dissolves. But if we think about it, then of course it might develop further. But without thinking about it, without elaborating about it, just look at it. It's just like you see a lion charging at you in your dream. But as soon as you know you're dreaming, you sit there and look at the dragon, look at the lion. And lion just will pass through you. Because dream lion cannot eat you in the dream when you truly know it is dreaming. So we are not Mahasiddha. We don't have miracles, but our own attachment, our own anger, our own self-clinging, our own jealousy, our own pride. Then if we go a little bit further, our own insecurity, our own fear, we can look at it. And we can handle it in a most harmonious and beautiful way. And of course, at the beginning, it will be for a stopgap measure, temporary benefit. But then if we continue, then slowly, slowly we become. And that is what we call Mahamudra realization. And Mahamudra realization have 12 steps. So that will be the first step, first stage of Mahamudra realization. Let us all pray that may we and all sentient beings will remain in this state of spontaneous transformation, even for a stopgap measure. It's worth it, because we shouldn't neglect a drop. Otherwise, ocean will never form. Ocean is a collection of countless drops. And we make 1,000,000 miles journey. We should not neglect the first step. Without first step, 1,000,000 miles journey will never start. Journey towards ultimate destination, Buddhahood, Mahasiddha of Mahamudra, like Telopa, like Naropa, like Marpalotawa, like Milarepa, and above all, Buddha Vajradhara. May we dedicate the merit of our teaching for the benefit of all sentient beings to realize their primordial, innate Buddha essence, Buddha potential. Everyone is future Buddha. May they realize this. We dedicate. Sunam diye tamje zigba ni tamne nyebe danam pamje ne jegana je balap trubai siben solen rowa dowar sho chanchu simcho rimbo che mache panam che jurjing jepan nyamba mebayo kone kondam pewar sho gewan di nyurdo da chaja chembon rupchurne rowa chikjang ma lupa deye sala gobar shu.
La